Chapter 26. The Ziphites came to Saul to Gibeah, saying, "Doesn't David hide himself in the hill of Hachilah, which is before the desert?" Then Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him, to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. Saul encamped in the hill of Hachilah, which is before the desert by the way. But David abode in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness. David therefore sent out spies, and understood that Saul was come of a certainty. David arose and came to the place where Saul had encamped. And David saw the place where Saul lay, and Abner the son of Ner, the captain of his host. And Saul lay within the place of the wagons, and the people were encamped round about him. Then answered David and said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai the son of Zeruiah, brother of Joab, saying, "Who will go down with me to Saul to the camp?" Abishai said, "I will go down with you." So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Saul lay sleeping within the places of the wagons, with his spear stuck in the ground at his head, and Abner and the people lay round about him. Then Abishai said to David, "God has delivered up your enemy into your hand this day. Now therefore please let me strike him with the spear to the earth at one stroke, and I will not strike him the second time." David said to Abishai, "Don't destroy him, for who can put forth his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless?" David said, "As the Lord lives, the Lord will strike him, or his day shall come to die, or he shall go down into battle and perish. The Lord forbid that I should put forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. But now please take the spear that is at his head, and the jar of water, and let us go." So David took the spear and the jar of water from Saul's head, and they got away, and no man saw it, nor knew it, neither did any awake, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord was fallen on them. Then David went over to the other side, and stood on the top of the mountain afar off, a great space being between them. And David cried to the people, and to Abner the son of Ner, saying, "Don't you answer, Abner." Then Abner answered, "Who are you who cries to the king?" David said to Abner, "Aren't you a valiant man? And who is like you in Israel? Why then have you not kept watch over your lord the king? For there came one of the people in to destroy the king your lord. This thing isn't good that you have done. As the Lord lives, you are worthy to die, because you have not kept watch over the king, the Lord's anointed. Now see where the king's spear is, and the jar of water that was at his head." Saul knew David's voice, and said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" David said, "It is my voice, my lord, O king." He said, "Why does my lord pursue after his servant? For what have I done, or what evil is in my hand? Now therefore please let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If it be the Lord has stirred you up against me, let him accept an offering. But if it be the children of men, cursed be they before the Lord, for they have driven me out this day, that I shouldn't cling to the Lord's inheritance, saying, 'Go serve other gods.' Now therefore don't let my blood fall to the earth away from the presence of the Lord. For the king of Israel has come out to seek a flea, as when one does hunt a partridge in the mountains." Then Saul said, "I have sinned. Return, my son David, for I will no more do you harm, because my life was precious in your eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool, and have erred exceedingly." David answered, "Behold the spear, O king. Let then one of the young men come over and get it. The Lord will render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness, because the Lord delivered you into my hand today, and I wouldn't put forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. Behold, as your life was much set by this day in my eyes, so let my life be much set by in the eyes of the Lord, and let him deliver me out of all oppression." Then Saul said to David, "Blessed be you, my son David. You shall both do mightily, and shall surely prevail." So David went his way, and Saul returned to his place. Chapter 27. David said in his heart, "I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should escape into the land of the Philistines, and Saul will despair of me to seek me any more in all the borders of Israel, so I shall escape out of his hand." David arose and passed over, he and the 600 men who were with him, to Achish the son of Maoch, king of Gath. David lived with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife. It was told Saul that David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. David said to Achish, If I have now found favor in your eyes, let them give me a place in one of the cities of the country, that I may dwell there, for why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you? Then Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Why Ziklag pertains to the kings of Judah to this day. The number of the days that David lived in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. David and his men went up and made a raid on the Geshurites and the Girzites and the Amalekites, for those nations were the inhabitants of the land who were of old, as you go to Shur, even to the land of Egypt. David struck the land, and saved neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep, and the oxen, and the donkeys, and the camels, and the clothing. And he returned and came to Achish. Achish said, Against whom have you made a raid today? David said, Against the south of Judah, and against the south of the Jerahmeelites, and against the south of the Kenites. David saved neither man nor woman alive to bring them to Gath, saying, Lest they should tell of us, saying, So did David, and so has his manner been all the while he has lived in the country of the Philistines. Achish believed David, saying, He has made his people Israel to utterly hate him. Therefore he shall be my servant forever. Chapter 28. It happened in those days that the Philistines gathered their host together for warfare, to fight with Israel. Achish said to David, Know assuredly that you shall go out with me in the host, you and your men. David said to Achish, Therefore you shall know what your servant will do. Achish said to David, Therefore I will make you keeper of my head forever. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. Saul had put away those who had familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. The Philistines gathered themselves together, and came and encamped in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they encamped in Gilboa. When Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. When Saul inquired of the Lord didn't answer him, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Then Saul said to his servants, Seek me a woman who has a familiar spirit, that I may go to her, and inquire of her. His servants said to him, Behold, there is a woman who has a familiar spirit at Endor. Saul disguised himself, and put on other clothing, and went, he and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, Please divine to me by the familiar spirit, and bring up whoever I shall name to you. The woman said to him, Behold, you know what Saul has done, how he has cut off those who have familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. Why then are you laying a snare for my life to cause me to die? Saul swore to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord lives, there shall no punishment happen to you for this thing. Then the woman said, Whom shall I bring up to you? He said, Bring me up Samuel. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spoke to Saul, saying, Why have you deceived me? For you are Saul. The king said to her, Don't be afraid, for what do you see? The woman said to Saul, I see a god coming up out of the earth. He said to her, What form is he? She said, An old man comes up, and he is covered with a robe. Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he bowed with his face to the ground. Samuel said to Saul, Why have you disturbed me to bring me up? Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God has departed from me, and answers me no more, neither by prophets, nor by dreams. Therefore I have called you, that you may make known to me what I shall do. Samuel said, Why then do you ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from you, and is become your adversary? The Lord has done to you as he spoke by me, and the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand, and given it to your neighbor, even to David, because you didn't obey the voice of the Lord, and didn't execute his fierce wrath on Amalek. Therefore the Lord has done this thing to you this day. Moreover, the Lord will deliver Israel also with you into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow shall you and your sons be with me. The Lord will deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul fell immediately his full length on the earth, and was very afraid because of the word of Samuel, and there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night. The woman came to Saul, and saw that he was very troubled, and said to him, Behold, your handmaid has listened to your voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and I have listened to your words which you spoke to me. Now therefore please listen also to the voice of your handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before you and eat, that you may have strength when you go on your way. But he refused and said, I will not eat. But his servants, together with the woman, constrained him, and he listened to their voice. So he arose from the earth and sat on the bed. The woman had a fattened calf in the house, and she hurried and killed it, and she took flour and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread of it, and she brought it before Saul and before his servants, and they ate. Then they rose up and went away that night. Chapter 29. Now the Philistines gathered together all their host to Aphek, and the Israelites encamped by the spring which is in Jezreel. The lords of the Philistines passed on by hundreds and by thousands, and David and his men passed on in the rear guard with Achish. Then the princes of the Philistines said, Why are these Hebrews here? Achish said to the princes of the Philistines, Isn't this David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, who has been with me these days, or rather these years, and I have found no fault in him since he fell away to me to this day? But the princes of the Philistines were angry with him, and the princes of the Philistines said to him, Make the man return, that he may go back to his place where you have appointed him, and let him not go down with us to the battle, lest in the battle he become an adversary to us. For with what should this fellow reconcile himself to his Lord? Should it not be with the heads of these our men? Is not this David, of whom they sang one to another in dances, saying, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s? Then Achish called David to him and said to him, As the Lord lives, you have been upright, and your going out and your coming in with me in the host is good in my sight. For I have not found evil in you since the day of your coming over to me, even to this very day. Nevertheless the lords don't favor you. Therefore now return and go in peace, that you not displease the lords of the Philistines. David said to Achish, But what have I done? And what have you found in your servant so long as I have been before you to this day, that I may not go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? Achish answered David, I know that you are good in my sight, as an angel of God. Notwithstanding, the princes of the Philistines have said, He shall not go up with us to the battle. Therefore now rise up early in the morning with the servants of your lord who have come with you, and as soon as you are up early in the morning and have light, depart. So David rose up early, he and his men, to depart in the morning, to return to the land of the Philistines. The Philistines went up to Jezreel. Chapter 30. It happened, when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had made a raid on the south and on Ziklag, and had struck Ziklag and burned it with fire, and had taken captive the women and all who were therein, both small and great. They didn't kill any, but carried them off and went their way. When David and his men came to the city, behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voice and wept, until they had no more power to weep. David's 2 wives were taken captive, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, Please bring me here the ephod. Abiathar brought there the ephod to David. David inquired of the Lord, saying, If I pursue after this troop, shall I overtake them? He answered him, Pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and shall without fail recover all. So David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came to the brook Besor, where those who were left behind stayed. But David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 stayed behind, who were so faint that they couldn't go over the brook Besor. They found an Egyptian in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he ate, and they gave him water to drink. They gave him a piece of cake, of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came to him again, for he had eaten no bread, nor drunk any water 3 days and 3 nights. David said to him, "To whom do you belong, and from where do you come?" He said, "I am a young man of Egypt, servant to an Amalekite, and my master left me, because 3 days ago I fell sick. We made a raid on the south of the Cherethites, and on that which belongs to Judah, and on the south of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire." David said to him, "Will you bring me down to this troop?" He said, "Swear to me by God that you will neither kill me, nor deliver me up into the hands of my master, and I will bring you down to this troop." When he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad over all the ground, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken up out of the land of the Philistines, and out of the land of Judah. David struck them from the twilight even to the evening of the next day, and there was not a man of them that escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. David recovered all that the Amalekites had taken, and David rescued his 2 wives. There was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil, nor anything that they had taken to them. David brought back all. David took all the flocks and the herds which they drove before those other cattle, and said, "This is David's spoil." David came to the 200 men who were so faint they could not follow David, whom also they had made to stay by the brook Besor. And they went forth to meet David, and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near to the people, he greeted them. Then answered all the wicked men and base fellows of those who went with David, and said, "Because they didn't go with us, we will not give them anything of the spoil that we have recovered, except to every man his wife and his children, that he may lead them away and depart." Then David said, "You shall not do so, my brothers, with that which the Lord has given to us, who has preserved us, and delivered the troop that came against us into our hand. Who will listen to you in this matter? For as his share is who goes down to the battle, so shall his share be who tarries by the baggage. They shall all share alike." It was so from that day forward that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel to this day. When David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil to the elders of Judah, even to his friends, saying, "Behold, a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord." To those who were in Bethel, and to those who were in Ramoth of the south, and to those who were in Jatir, and to those who were in Aroer, and to those who were in Siphmoth, and to those who were in Eshtemoa, and to those who were in Rachal, and to those who were in the cities of the Jerahmeelites, and to those who were in the cities of the Kenites, and to those who were in Hormah, and to those who were in Borashan, and to those who were in Athak, and to those who were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men used to stay. Chapter 31. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled from before the Philistines, and fell down slain on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines followed hard on Saul and on his sons, and the Philistines killed Jonathan, and Aminadab, and Malchishua, the sons of Saul. The battle went sore against Saul, and the archers overtook him, and he was greatly distressed by reason of the archers. Then Saul said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword, and thrust me through, lest these uncircumcised ones come and thrust me through and abuse me." But his armor-bearer would not, for he was very afraid. Then Saul took his sword and fell on it. When his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he likewise fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men that same day together. When the men of Israel who were on the other side of the valley, and those who were beyond the Jordan, saw that the men of Israel fled, and that Saul and his sons were dead, they forsook the cities and fled, and the Philistines came and lived in them. It happened on the next day, when the Philistines came to strip the slain, that they found Saul and his 3 sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They cut off his head, and stripped off his armor, and sent into the land of the Philistines round about to carry the news to the house of their idols and to the people. They put his armor in the house of the Ashtaroth, and they fastened his body to the wall of Bethshan. When the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard concerning him that which the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men arose, and went all night, and took the body of Saul and the bodies of his sons from the wall of Bethshan, and they came to Jabesh, and burnt them there. They took their bones, and buried them under the tamarisk tree in Jabesh, and fasted 7 days.